Working Girl is the 14th episode of the 4th season of Full House. This is directed by Zwick, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I talk about the episode and share some thoughts. And I'll go through the main narrative chronologically, but I'll talk about a few of the subplots first of all. It starts off rather adorably with Michelle and Jessie playing the drums, and Michelle's story in this episode revolves around the fact that she is the politeness police officer at her preschool because it's politeness week, and she is so polite and so adorable, and I adored her in this episode, as I usually do. And unfortunately for Michelle, being polite was too much when it meant she wasn't getting what she wanted, and she ended up ripping the star off of her outfit, the police officer star, and stealing Stephanie's food. And of course Stephanie said how rude and ran after her. Nice little part of the story, really enjoyed it. We then have a little bit focusing on Jessie and Becky, and I'm pleased that Joey came to the same conclusion that I did, because they are still arguing about whether they should get married in Graceland or Nebraska. And Joey asks for somebody's credit card so he can buy some bath products on the shopping network, and Becky says, I will give you my credit card if you sell the idea of getting married in Nebraska to Jessie. And that's exactly what he does. And then Jessie imagines this wedding, and it's absolutely not what he wants, and we get to see that visualized. And then Joey tries to sell the Graceland wedding, and Becky visualizes this, and again we get to see that. Very creative, very well done, no complaints there. And I just kept thinking, as I did in the previous episodes when they brought this up, why don't you just get married in San Francisco? Then nobody has to travel, or at least nobody within the household has to travel. And either way, if you're getting married in Graceland or Nebraska, most of your family will have to travel there. So just get married in San Francisco. And that is what Joey suggested. And they finally realised, actually, that probably makes the most sense. And I imagine it would be considerably cheaper as well. So this is what they're going to do. And they're getting married on Valentine's Day in 6 weeks' time. So the race is on. A nice little subplot. It helped to move the narrative forward without giving it too much focus. The main narrative focuses on DJ. And initially she asks Danny for $160 for some tennis shoes. And we have this brilliantly written exchange. DJ says, if I don't get these, I'm going to be a total geek. And Kimmy says, you know how that feels, Mr. T. And there's a really nice pause of a good few seconds. And then Danny says, takes one to know one, which I just thought was absolutely fabulous. Let's just meet Kimmy on her own level. And DJ, I will say, much to DJ's credit, she suggested getting a job. Usually in this kind of scenario, at least in TV shows and things, the kid will ask the parent for the money, and the parent will say, if you want the money, you're going to have to get a job and earn it. But DJ actually had that as her plan B, which I think is really admirable. And there's a position at the mall for an assistant for the photographer, and Danny says, as long as your grades don't suffer, you can get the job. And she does, and we see her wearing this interesting costume. It is a delight. She's basically spending most of the episode on her hands and knees quacking like a duck while wearing this costume, and I'm sure it was a delightfully fun day at work. It's really enjoyable. It's a nice part of the story. Unfortunately, DJ starts to realise that all she's doing is going to school, going to work, coming home, having something to eat, and going to bed. She doesn't have time to study. And unfortunately, she got an F on her science test. And DJ was willing to tell Danny, nervous, scared, but willing, and Kimmy changed it to an A. And I feel a great bit of advice here would be, if you're a teacher, try and make sure that your F can't be changed into an A. I don't even know if they still do A to F grades. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't, because they don't want to hurt kids' feelings when they get an F. But certainly this isn't the case here, and Kimmy changed it into an A. And DJ doesn't say anything about it. She goes to work. Danny goes to visit her, and Michelle gets her photograph taken, which is adorable. And then DJ tells Danny that she got this A, and Danny's really proud of her. Everything's going really well. And then Danny puts it on the fridge. And I love how this played out. I think this was a really great direction to take the narrative. Jessie sees the forged grade, and because he had a history of forging grades when he was at school, he knew immediately what had happened, or at least he knew it had been forged. And to DJ's credit, she did admit immediately that Kimmy forged it, and Jessie pointed out that Kimmy may have forged it, but DJ didn't do anything about it. And Danny is busy swapping the couch cushions, and DJ goes and confesses to him. And I have to say there was a missed opportunity here, because DJ said, I just wanted you to think that I was being responsible. And Danny pointed out, well, this was a really irresponsible thing to do, and that's absolutely true. But he didn't take the opportunity to tell DJ that confessing was a responsible thing to do. I think there was a missed opportunity there to reinforce that good behaviour. I think that would have been a really beneficial thing. But nevertheless, DJ realises that, yeah, she can't carry on with this job, and she's just going to go back to being a kid. And I think that's a really great message, that there's no need to hurry up with growing up. There's no rush. Yes, it's great to show that you can be responsible, but she still is only 14. And honestly, I'm surprised they let a 14-year-old work. I know this was the 90s, but it's still a pretty big responsibility for somebody of her age. And I think it's always great to just remind children that it's okay to just be a child and focus on what's important at the moment, i.e. schoolwork, spending time with friends, not necessarily working every spare hour that you have just to buy a pair of shoes. And obviously these are shoes that DJ doesn't need. Danny is, of course, going to buy her shoes that she actually does need. So I think the narrative went in a great direction. And ultimately, I thought it was a really enjoyable episode. The costume DJ had on, I don't want to wear it myself, but it looked great. And Michelle, with her politeness, was adorable. And I'm glad that Jessie and Becky have now finally come to the most logical conclusion about their wedding location. Working Girl is definitely a really good episode of Full House with some pretty great messages.